The legend of the Wrekin. In olden times, when bards still flourished, eerie nurse chivalry had Arthur nourished. Lived in Wales amid the mountain passes, a giant who among the upper classes. That is his giant brethren was thought quite a great man, and so he ought. For his weight and breadth of figure, his strength and size was a great deal bigger than any other giants round about, and his size was great, no doubt.
Long, long ago, when there were still giants in the land, two of them were cast out by the rest and forced to go and live by themselves. So they set to work to build themselves a hill to live in. In a very short time they had dug out the earth from the bed of the Severn, which runs in the trench they made to this day, and with it the earth they piled up the Wrekin, intending to make it their home. Those bare patches on the turf between the Bladderstone and the top of the hill are the marks of their feet, where from that day to this the grass has never regrown. But they had not been there long before they quarrelled, and one of them struck at the other with his spade, but failed to hit him, and the spade, descending to the ground, split the solid rock and left the needle's eye. Then they began to fight, and the giant with the spade, for they seemed to have had only one between them, perhaps that was what they quarrelled about, was getting the best of it at first, but a raven flew up and pecked at his eyes, and the pain made him shed such a mighty tear that it hollowed out the little basin in the rock which we call the Raven's Bowl, or sometimes the Cuckoo's Cup, which has never been dry since, but is always full of water, even in the hottest summer. And now you suppose that it was very easy for the other giant to master the one who had the spade, and when he had done so, he determined to put him where he could never trouble anyone again. So he very quickly built up the Urkel hill beside the Wrekin, and imprisoned his fallen foe within it. There the poor blind giant remains to this day, and in the dead of night you may sometimes hear him groaning. Another story goes, there was a wicked old giant in Wales, who had a grudge against the mayor of Shrewsbury, and all his people because they were stealing his eels from his trap that was in the lower parts of the River Severn. So he made up his mind to dam the Severn, and by that means cause such a flood that the town would be drowned. So off he set, carrying a spade full of earth, and tramped along mile after mile, trying to find the way to Shrewsbury. But he missed it. He must have gone wrong somewhere, for alas, he got close to Wellington, and by that time he was exhausted under the weight of his heavy load, and wishing he was at the end of his journey. Before long there came a cobbler along the road carrying a sack of old boots and shoes on his back, for he lived at Wellington, and went once a fortnight to Shrewsbury to collect his customers' old boots and shoes, and take them home with him to mend. Seeing him, the giant called out to him.
"I say,"
he said.
"how far is it to Shrewsbury?"
"Shrewsbury?" said the cobbler. "What do you want at Shrewsbury?"
"What?"
said the giant.
"I had to fill up the Severn with lumps of earth. I got here an old grudge against the mayor of the folks at Shrewsbury, and now I mean to drown them and get rid of them all at once."
"My word," thought the cobbler, "this will never do. I can't afford to lose my customers." And he spoke up again. "Hey," he said, "you'll never get to Shrewsbury, not today nor tomorrow. Why, look at me. I've just come from Shrewsbury, and I've had time to wear out all these old boots and shoes on the road since I started." And he showed him his sack.
"Oh,"
said the giant with a great groan.
"then that is no use. I'm fairly tired out already. I cannot carry this load of mine any farther. I shall just drop it here and go back home."
So he dropped the earth on the ground just where he stood, and scraped his boots on the spade, and off he went home again to Wales, and nobody heard anything of him in Shropshire after. But where he put down his load there stands the Wrekin to this day, and even the earth he scraped off his boots was such a pile that it made the little Urkel by the Wrekin's side.